right, so I'm going to get started. Thanks to everyone who dropped in. I appreciate it. So, over the last month, the overwhelming focus has been the continued work on the multi-wallet, which, as folks probably know, is the feature that instead of only being able to use a single coin at a time, you'll be able to use multiple coins in the software. At launch of this, which is going to be a major release 2.3, it will be Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Zcash. I believe that's all. And then soon after, as I'll talk about in a bit, Ethereum will be joining the game. So multi-wallet has been obviously a lot of work. It is more or less completed on the client and the server side to the point, feature complete, to the point where we are now just testing it extensively and then going through and fixing all the issues that we find. It's fairly far advanced in that respect. One big thing that has occurred over the past month in regards to multi-wallet is the fact that we have had a fundamental shift in how the infrastructure around it works. So initially, we had chosen to use Insight servers because this is an API-based approach. It's no longer SPV. And what we found is Insight, first of all, was not as reliable as we had hoped going into it. We had some issues there. But even fundamentally more problematic was that it simply does not support SegWit, which is something that several of our coins use. So that was a problem. We kind of had to go back to the drawing board and figure out if we could still somehow make Insight work, or if we wanted to adopt a different piece of infrastructure tech. We ended up going with the latter, and we switched over to a code base called Blockbook, which is created by the team that does Trezor. And over the past, I don't know exactly how long, month or so, a lot of our work has been dedicated to getting Blockbook compatible and working with our code base, and then also standing up the infrastructure to be able to do the proper testing and have it there in place once we launch, both on testnet and on mainnet as well. And I believe, as of right now, all of the coins that we're going to be using in the 2.3 release have Blockbook infrastructure set up, both mainnet and testnet, and is running right now. And I think I can speak for the team when I say we've been pleasantly surprised at how well Blockbook has worked for us. We were concerned when we switched from Insight that we were opening a can of worms as to how usable the software is, how well developed it is, and thus far it has met or even exceeded our expectations, which is obviously great news. So that has been our main focus, the multi-wallet stuff, and on the infrastructure side, it'll be one team. Am I missing anything in that area?
No, I think you did a great job covering this.
All right, thank you. So we also have been doing work on the Ethereum side, and we have had several external audits of our smart contracts. The smart contracts have been finished for a while. They have, I think, all but one have been audited, or perhaps they've all been audited now. And we have been basically incorporating the feedback that we've gotten from the external auditors and fixing those things. So it's pretty far down the line on that right now. And I believe that they are confident that though Ethereum will not be usable in the 2.3 main multi-wallet release, we expect that I guess it would be 2.3.1 or maybe 2.4. I don't know exactly yet how we're doing the versioning. But the next release after the major release, we anticipate that Ethereum will be integrated and usable in that release. So that still seems to be going according to plan. On the mobile side, I do not have a detailed update. Work has been continuing, and we hope to be very close to get to beta testing, but I don't think we're there quite yet. That is something I didn't mention on the multi-wallet side. We want to get a beta version out for testing on the test nets to people who are willing to test in the community as soon as possible. I think we hope to do it by the end of the week, but that's still undetermined. But if anyone listening out there does want to help us test the new multi-wallet, please hang out in Slack. In fact, there is a particular channel in Slack that I've forgotten the name of right now, the testers channel. It's called something like, there it is, release testing. So if you're really interested in helping us test new releases, usually it's release candidates, but sometimes for bigger releases like this, we'll do sort of a beta, which is kind of like release candidate. Go ahead and hang out in Slack, join the release testing channel, and you'll get notified when we have those available. And the same is true on the mobile side too. Like if you want to help us do some sort of beta test for mobile, just make yourself known. Email us or hit us up in Slack, and we'll add you to a list of people that can test it. Other than multi-wallet, Ethereum, and the mobile work, there's sort of two other things that we have been working on. One is a rebase of the OpenBazaar Go, the server code, to include the new IPFS changes. So the current code base that we're working on for IPFS, I believe, was put out something like this spring. And over this year, the IPFS team has been doing a lot of updates, especially to the networking stuff. And those improvements are not, currently in our code base. So several on the team have been working on a rebase sort of in the background that should help with the networking stuff substantially, and also especially for things like on the mobile platform or on the web interface. For those devices, it should help connectivity. Brian has been doing some of that work. He's not on the call. Mike, could you briefly explain how the new IPFS stuff improves networking? If you have a handle on that, I don't.
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. So the main new feature that we're going to be including with IPFS, this version that we're including in 0.16, it has default support for circuit relays. And what that means is typically a node will need to connect directly to another node to be able to deliver the message that it needs to deliver. Whereas in this new version, it will automatically look for available circuit relays to bounce a message off of to get to another peer. And this can help in a lot of cases, particularly in those where there's NAT traversal problems, like you can't get through a router or a firewall, but a remote peer that you're trying to connect to might have a connection with one of these relays, and that relay can be a way to satisfy the last leg of that delivery process, which is a prevalent problem on our network today.
Great, thank you. So that work is, I think, nearly done. The rebase is more or less complete, or it has some more to do, but a lot of it's been done. But it's not going to be merged into the code base with multi-wallet. That's already its own beast, and we don't want to confuse things. So after the 2.3, we then have the Ethereum release, and I don't think this is fully determined yet, but potentially the next release after that would be the one that has the IPFS rebase. That's how I understand it now. That may change, but hopefully that's going to improve networking substantially. The last thing that we have been working on is the web interface. So as as we talked about a lot in the past, we wanted to move from being desktop only. We are doing that with mobile, and we're also building something on the web. So we have the OpenBazaar.com now, which is a read-only web interface into the network, and we are building what should be a buyer-only web interface. So you're able to purchase things through a browser, but you're not able to run a store fully, at least not yet. In order to do that, we've had to sort of test how to do these things in the browser. One of those things is how to send messages correctly. So one of our devs has been working on that, and I believe these IPFS rebase updates that we've been talking about are kind of important to that effort. So I don't think we'll have a whole lot of work done on that until that rebase is completed. I don't know, Josh, is that accurate?
Well, the current state of things is we are able to send messages from the web into nodes on the network fairly reliably, but sending them back the other way doesn't work as well. And that's because the web version uses the latest versions of IPFS, where our nodes don't yet.
I see.
So the web is actually kind of ahead as far as connectivity on IPFS of the desktop.
So the web is the cutting edge of the cutting edge, and the rest of the network is not there yet.
Quite literally, I believe at least one piece of the code that we're using isn't even released yet for the web.
Well, there you go.
But we are using the absolute latest IPFS JS stuff.
Yeah, so that work continues on the web stuff, and when we get to the point where it's something that's reviewable by other folks who are interested, we'll let everyone know. That's the stuff that we've been working on. There's one upcoming thing that is of interest. We're going to be at the Bitcoin conference in Miami next month. We'll have a decent presence there. So if anyone listening is going to be attending the conference, we would obviously love to see you, stop by, chat with us, get some swag. And I believe that there will be a presentation from us, from Brian. I'm not sure of that, but certainly check that out as well. From the OB1 team, is there anything that I haven't mentioned that you think is worth bringing up?
Nothing that I can think of.
Okay, yeah, sounds like no. So I will then let anyone who's on the call ask questions or mention things that they have been working on as well. I'm going to click on the public chat here. It kicked me out last time I did that, and hopefully that doesn't happen again. But I see that there are some comments in there.
Hey, Sam, this is Chris Troutner.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, a little late to the show. I thought this might be a good opportunity to mention I tried doing some cryptocurrency trades, and I don't know what the buyer setup was. I suspect they were behind a firewall. I know my client was behind a firewall, and so performance tends to degrade in that scenario. There were some issues with the order, like I placed an order and paid it, and they never saw payment on their end. Luckily, I was able to cancel the order and get the money back, so that was good. And then later on, I think that happened again a couple times. I was curious: I know that the data communication is based on IPFS. I'm curious if the PubSub technology has been incorporated yet, or if that's something that's coming down the pike still.
So, Chris, this is Mike Greenberg, one of the backend developers. I'll take that question for you, Sam. The PubSub stuff is being tested in some small aspects of our code, and I don't know specifically where, but not in our general messaging for sure. And that's something that we want to explore further as we get this new rebase put into place, which also has some new PubSub improvements included in it as well. So we're not using it to its full potential, and we do have some test usage of it already in the server that we wanted to see what the performance of it was. Thinking about it more, I think it's part of our inventory handling. So yeah, we are aware of it, and I would think that the problems that you were experiencing there sound as though they were trying to send payments offline, which would have allowed you to do the cancellation at all. And I think some of the connectivity issues that we're going to be including in the new IPFS rebase will help alleviate that problem as well.
Great to hear.
Yeah, and hopefully the IPFS rebase isn't the only area where the wallet issues will be helped by the switch to the multi-wallet update. I mean, that's the hope. SPV for its different pros and cons, but it can be finicky sometimes with seeing stuff come in and stuff. And hopefully, if this block book infrastructure is working correctly, which it seems to be, that will be more reliable with the new multi-wallet update. Jacob Long in the chat asked if this includes ERC20. As Josh and Mike responded, it will eventually, not right when the Ethereum integration comes out, but hopefully soon afterward. Jacob contributes that having a stable coin could significantly help with adoption, and that's something that we have talked about as well. That's one of the main tokens or ERC20 stuff that we are interested to see adopted into the platform for the reason that you point out, which is implied, which is volatility is a big problem in a marketplace. We've certainly seen that time and time again. Yeah. So, any other questions or comments for our team?
This is Chris Troutner again. I just also want to use this opportunity to. I know you guys have so many things you're focused on right now that what I'm about to propose is not possible until way in the future. But I'm working for Bitcoin.com on their JavaScript SDKs, and a couple of those SDKs are the Wormhole and SLP token protocols that run on top of Bitcoin Cash. And we have an ERC 20, or the Wormhole tokens conform to the ERC 20 token standard. So just keep that in mind. I'm also working on creating not a stable token, but a pseudo-stable token. And Dr. Washington's been keeping tabs on that. So I'll continue to follow up with him. But just want to use this opportunity to remind you guys that, Bitcoin Cash is coming into the token world, and we're trying to follow all the same established standards to make it easy to incorporate on platforms like OpenBazaar. So just keep that in the back of your mind. If you guys are curious, I am probably the best resource to tap to bring you up to speed, and anything that we can do to assist you and make it easy to incorporate those kinds of tokens on the OpenBazaar platform, I'm here to help with that.
Appreciate that, Chris. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks. I would love to see some proof of concepts as far as how you could incorporate some of the behavior and features that Wormhole or SLP might be able to offer OpenBazaar. I think that there's probably a large part of our community that don't see the obvious opportunities there. Having a developer that's involved with the regular contributions of the software could have a lot to offer there, I think.
Yeah, Mike, I'll follow up with you offline and send you some links to some of the easier to digest stuff. And I am actually working on a proof of concept for my pseudo-stable token right now, and hope to have something to show off here in the next week or two.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah, good deal. I'm not that familiar with how the ERC20 stuff is going to be integrated into the software, so I'll be interested to find out what the level of difficulty there is to have those tokens included. I think the functionality for ERC20 should be usable via the smart contract for everything, but how does that relate in terms of what does it look like in the client? I don't know the answer to that yet, so that will be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's definitely an area of exploration. There is, the standard is the same, but the main challenge is that it's on a different chain. And so I don't know exactly. That's an area I'm exploring right now. Is what's the best way to get the Ethereum chain and the Bitcoin Cash chain? If we have two compatible tokens, how do we get them to talk to across chain to one another?
So I can speak a little bit to that in how we're trying to incorporate Ethereum into our multi-wallet today, and just in the accounting differences between Bitcoin being UTXO based and Ethereum being more account focused. It's presented the need for metadata to be associated with certain transactions on the Ethereum when an Ethereum transaction is made. So the downsides to this are that it makes a lot of the transactions that would want to be taking advantage of unique capabilities of Ethereum, for example, to be limited to just the internal wallet, meaning that you would not be able to use an external wallet to fulfill an order inside of OpenBazaar because OpenBazaar necessarily has to attach this metadata to the transaction being made. And I expect that these ERC20 tokens could have additional behavior that gets offered to the client in that regard, but that certainly precludes us from being able to use an external ERC20 wallet. So I think that this somewhere in with being able to open up the wallet interface to a broader community and having like a plug-in type system available for people to say, all right, I want my Kitty coin to be included on the marketplace. Then here's some additional functionality that Kitty coin can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I look forward to seeing like a standard or an API for that. That would be great. I think I totally agree with your approach there.
All right, good deal. I'm sorry, Mike. Did you want to continue?
I was just going to say we'll be exploring that, and that's also long thinking. This is not anything that we're chasing in the near future. So the Ethereum stuff is going to pave the way for that. But I think as we develop that further, we'll have more to share.
All right. There is one thing that I forgot to mention. So Brian has been doing some work to flesh out the OpenBazaar documentation, and he has created, or he has, I guess, updated docs.openbazaar.org. I've just put it into the public chat. It is a significant improvement over the previous documentation. And as Josh points out to me, it's not just Brian who's done this work. So thanks to everyone who has contributed to it. But it's absolutely worth checking out and worth pointing people toward if they're interested in understanding OpenBazaar better.
Yeah, I'm checking it out right now. It's a great font and formatting. Great job, guys. This is something that's been needed for a while. So, great job.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Well, is there anything else? Any other questions or thoughts before we wrap this up? All right. Sounds like no. So thank you, everyone, for attending. I appreciate it. As always, if you want to continue the conversation, have questions for us, Slack is the best place to find us. Everyone have a good day, have a good month, and I'll see you all hopefully next meeting.